Adesso il mio microfono è acceso. Sì, c'è una Lisa Ward. Però sta registrando, direi che stia registrando tutto, o no? Perché mi ha adesso sta cosa dell'audio? Allora aspetta. Sì, ne ho già due che vogliono entrare. Dove te li salva Zoom le cose? Download. Mm? Mm? Ah sì? È entrato Massi.
Buongiorno, confermo, siamo solo noi? No.
No.
Hello, everyone. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Excellent. Hello, Lisa. How are you? Good to see you.
Very well. Thank you. You too.
Excellent. We had a very fruitful discussion in the previous panel. So many people have to, transfer their participation in this panel. So we're gonna let them do so, and we're gonna start after steps or so. Hi, Julia.
Hi.
Nice picture.
Yeah, this is from my city. Yeah, this is my city.
and this icon is from the bridge, the Rion Bridge in Patras in Greece. So we thought to localize our
this is my bedroom
backgrounds. Excellent. So let me, Lisa is here, Ruth, Sabine, Ruth and Sabine should be next, and Michele, and Claire and Tatiana. Okay, so we're gonna, hello, hi, Tatiana, how are you? Excellent. So,
okay. Can you hear me now?
yes, very good. Okay. So we're just waiting for the transition from panel 1 to panel 2. We had some 75 people into the first panel, so we need to make some time and allow people to connect with this Zoom link. How are things in Australia, Lisa?
It's very good. I'm from Queensland, so it's rather warm and lovely for winter. And with regards to coronavirus, we're doing quite well with it. Unfortunately, we can't be in Milan at the moment. That's very sad. Yeah.
Indeed, indeed. After 2 years, I think we'll repeat the conference in Milan in 2022, I think. So, but we'll have another chance to visit our Italian friends.
It'd be lovely.
Yep. And Reggio Emilia. Reggio Emilia is my favorite spot, but we were unable to go to join forces with them this year. So another time.
Yeah, maybe next year.
Yeah. And we've missed all these, side visits as well.
Yeah.
Organizers, Rita and the associates there had organized some good site visits, but now we're unable to do so. But next time. So people are still coming.
People are coming.
Wait a minute, we are, yes.
Yeah.
We are in the States.
We just were saying that we missed your visit sites that you had organized for us. If we were in,
unfortunately.
Next time.
But I saw that Julia has the picture. Wonderful, Julia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes, if 50 minutes, it's not so much. So there are questions and things that they want to. Julia, you take note of the message that are on the other chat. We have the possibility to keep it. Okay.
We have all the text, so maybe
because we have to share then links and other. Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we have both the registration and the chat, so no problem at all.
Thank you so much. Hi, Lisa. Lisa, how are you?
Sorry, I muted myself. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Thank you. So we are here. I know that probably in Australia is night time or afternoon time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's evening. Yes.
Yeah, it's the evening. Okay. Okay. So I
Right. We'll give a few more minutes.
Yeah, Daniel, a few minutes because I think that people are coming, and then yeah, you can open it. All the presenters are there.
Our presenters, I can see Lisa, Tatiana is here, Sabine is here as well. And Ruth, what about Ruth? Ruth is here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yep, excellent. Yeah. Hi, Ruth.
Hi.
Michele is there?
Telaro. Michele.
Yes, I'm here.
Yep,
Hello.
yep.
Hello, Michele. And
Claire. Yes.
Claire. Yes. Okay, Claire. Yes. Okay. Thank you.
Oh yeah, we're here. Everyone is here from the presenter side. So we enjoyed the first panel's discussions, Rita.
Yeah, I think that there are plenty of issues to to discuss, and we have to choose. But yes, it starts from a long discussion, but we can follow the discussion, and I think yes, very interesting. I don't know if the other, as probably we don't have the space to give the voice, to give the floor to everyone, because we are a lot. But I hope that those who want to have the floor could have this opportunity. So perhaps I think that we can start in order to not to.
We can wait a couple of minutes because there are
okay.
40 people and there are more than 100 people who has subscribed it, so we can wait.
Registered. Yeah. Yep. Excellent. And
yes, because we suppose that having different links help to manage it, but probably it is more complicated because they have to shift from one link to another, but of course.
Excellent. So let me start with the technical specifications, yes. And then we'll give time for people to arrive. Yes, so we just keep our we are muted keep our microphones on a mute mode. Of course, you can actually select the speaker view if you like to have a better view of the speaker. The session is going to be recorded, just for your knowledge, so we can actually avail all the proceedings later on our website, the conference website. If someone later on, we're going to allow for a 5 minutes presentation by the panelists, and then we're going to allow for a discussion. So if you like to make a discussion, please use the room and write your discussion and the person that you are directing the question to. And if you like to make a short comment, please raise your hand. There's a function, a button there on the participants view that you can actually raise your hand, and we should be able to give you the floor for a while. These are the technical specifications. I don't think that there's anything else for us to say. Most of the people are here, or about 50 people or something. But I really enjoy the background of Julia. I should say that we wish to be in Reggio Emilia, but we were unlucky this time of the year. Hopefully, in a future forum, we could join our Italian friends and have a more fruitful discussions in Reggio Emilia and Milan.
Yeah, this is the main square of our city. So we hope you can see it next year.
Yep.
And visit us.
We'll try. Hopefully we're gonna have better luck with the pandemic, and we're gonna be able to move freely around the world. You never know. So we should be safe and of course flexible in terms of doing our work. And these deliberations, especially the first panel, I really enjoy the discussions and the questions, and of course the information given by the different panelists. It's very important for us to share and exchange these ideas, and especially on the recognition of refugee qualification. And we've learned that we have this European qualification passport for refugees, which is a very important initiative. And hopefully we're going to have a more rigorous implementation in various national contexts. Okay, I think we should start. We took 4 minutes from our time. Now, this session is going to be focused on how to support the continuity to tertiary education, the continuity of refugee people, in order to enhance their careers and in order to have better pathways with regards to the academic context or the professional area. So we have five speakers today from Australia, Switzerland, Italy, France. And I would like to give the floor to Lisa Ward, just to summarize, 5 minutes, Lisa, to summarize the main points that you raised and to give us an overview of your ideas and reflections on this issue. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. My name's Lisa Ward, and I'm the Social Services Director for Access Community Services. Our organisation is a subsidiary of Settlement Services International, and we're based in sunny Queensland in Australia. Access is a refugee and asylum seeker specialist agency, and we aim to build the capacity of individuals, their families and communities to support them to achieve their lifetime well-being and fulfil their social and economic aspirations. We've been around for about 36 years, I think, this year. So we not an academic, and this isn't what my model that I'm presenting isn't something that's been evaluated. We are hoping to do that in the near future, but it is something that we're quite passionate about. Before I go much further, I just would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which I stand today, and I pay respects to elders past and present. I'm going to assume everybody has watched my presentation, but the key point I wanted to highlight from the presentation is firstly the model, which we see at a practical level as being the most effective way to support refugees and asylum seekers. And this, we are talking about education here in this forum, but we see it for the whole progress for refugees and asylum seekers. It's a highly collaborative approach. We believe it operates best at the grassroots level, where a coordinator effectively brings in relevant organisations to identify and address the whole needs of individuals and their families. We see that with the guidance of the coordinator, partner organisations provide the necessary supports, whilst keeping the client's unique situation at the centre. Effectively, the coordinator helps make the other service supports work for the client. Programs often have a particular focus, for example, to achieve an education or employment outcome, like what we're talking here today. However, we strongly believe that you need to look beyond those specific needs, such as language, skills recognition and education, etc., meaning that it's just as important to consider other needs, such as mental health, as an example. The other point I wanted to highlight, and I guess is summed up at the very end of my presentation, and it was a quote from Mother Teresa. And the quote was, "Never worry about numbers, help one person at a time, and always start with the person nearest to you." I guess what I'm saying in that is, well, why I've referenced that is we do see here anyway that far too often our schools, our government funded programs, our social service supports and indeed society just continue to place too high an emphasis on delivering quantity of outcomes rather than quality and holistic support, which refugees and migrants, especially those with complex needs, require to achieve their aspirations. This approach does not provide sustainable outcomes otherwise. I was also very pleased to watch many of my fellow panelist members' presentations. I looked at quite a few of them, and it was really good to see that many agreed of the necessity of both coordination and collaboration in this place. Yeah, so I guess I'll pass it on to the next presenter, but thank you for allowing me for being here with you today.
Excellent. We really enjoy your presentation, Lisa, and particularly when you try to make these connections within the community and try to bring all the expertise of one organization with respect to local and community needs. and your target was towards settlement. So you really target this idea that you need to provide trusting relationships through these social hubs that you have, and then try to accommodate people. That's very important. But now we have other speakers from the university, the tertiary sector, like Ruth and Sabine, and they will talk to us about securing access to universities, how we can do that. I don't know who's gonna talk first, guys. Ruth? Yes?
Yeah. Yes, it's me. Thank you, Eugenia. With Sabine, we made a presentation about our project. So it's a project from the Swiss Student Union, which was founded 100 years ago. The union itself and the project exists since end of 2015, beginning of 2016. And it's a project as student representatives that we launched. And the aim is to advocate for equal access to higher education institutions in Switzerland, which is quite challenging since Switzerland has these cantons, so this regional governments, and everyone can decide whatever they want to do. So this is the trickiest part, but mainly in Switzerland, the focus of the integration process lies in the rapid job market integration. And even though for young people, there is the track open into training, so such as job apprenticeships and so on, but for highly qualified migrants, especially the ones above 25, it's really almost impossible to access tertiary education. And this is the main challenge for us, because we advocate for this equal access and the opening of higher education institutions for this target group. And in the last 3-4 years, we worked on several levels. So on the one hand, we supported the student projects and higher education institutions to establish projects. So about 20 initiatives exist across Switzerland, mainly mentoring projects, so student-led initiatives, but also bridge projects with preparation measures for refugees, and also some initiatives within the regular structures of the higher education institutions. So there are quite some benefits also that we can highlight, for example, social contacts, intercultural understanding, but also improving language skills and having a real assessment opportunity during these programs to see what are the opportunities of each person to access higher education institutions, but also identify other possible pathways for the professional future. But the main challenges remain. So we saw that this analysis we did over 3 years now is that the main challenges, such as recognition that the panel we heard before, remain. Language issues, the language requirements are quite high, so C1, sometimes C2. Financing a study program or the preparation measures are almost impossible for refugees in Switzerland. And so it comes that only about 130 people of participants in the project out of 600 managed to enroll in the study program, which is not so much. And so we're really focusing now on what Lisa mentioned before, this collaboration and coordination approach and the political aspects. I don't know if Sabine wants to add something or...
Sabine, would you like to add?
No, I think you mentioned everything which is impossible. What I would like to add here is thank you very much, Eugenia, for your talk. That was very rich and inspiring, and I really enjoyed to hear it. And yeah, it gives me a lot of new ideas to further think on the whole issue.
All right then, thank you. And in the meantime, if you'd like to make some questions, you can use the chat room just to write a few ideas or questions, and then we can discuss them after the presentations. Now, I would like to turn to Michele Telaro just to allow him to make a few comments on his presentation.
Hello, everybody. My name is Michele Telaro from UNHCR in Italy. And well, about my presentation, in fact, I maybe just want, well, yes, assuming that you saw the presentation or you will have the chance to do it later. So the presentation was about an initiative that we had in Italy, we launched in Italy a couple of years ago. So we call it the Manifesto on an Inclusive University. And I just maybe would like to explain how we get to this manifesto. In fact, I have I have to admit, let's say that university for UNHCR in Italy were not a priority since not long ago, because let's say we were a bit overwhelmed by some other needs that maybe were more concrete, or it seems to be more touching or important. I mean, reception and access, then organizing reception in Italy, and they're organizing first basic needs about integration, so help refugees to find a job, to find a house, and so on. But then we saw that, in fact, and I have absolutely to acknowledge this, that few Italian universities, they had some very interesting initiative about access and inclusion of refugees and asylum seekers. And so we recognized that there was a huge potential, in fact, because also thanks to the relative autonomy of universities in Italy, there were really, it was a kind of an heterogeneous situation with few different initiatives. There were universities that gave access to asylum seekers just to follow some course. There were other universities that were autonomously, independently organizing kind of humanitarian corridors, so giving scholarship to students from Syria, for example, to come to study in Italy. And so a few different things were putting in place. And so we thought that maybe it could be useful to help university through networking, and so through create a network and exchanging best practices and having few more situations like this one where we are now, to exchange and to for each one to learn from other experience. So already to try, yes, first the first goal I think is the exchange, and then the second goal is to have a better idea of the situation, because, for example, right now in Italy we do not have precise data about number of refugees that are enrolled in tertiary education. So already we should try to get better data to better understand the situation, the phenomenon. And so we proposed to university to work about 4 main areas that I described in the video, but that are, of course, title recognition, of course, scholarship and any other kind of support, then direct support to the student during their academic life, so from registration, and then also when they are studying. So as it was already explained also in other presentation, for example, the French one and the Swiss one as well, there are plenty of different things that can be activated. But then I think that the overall goal at the end of the day should be, for me, to try to real mainstream in Italy the point that is that that access to tertiary education for refugees, it is an added value for them, but for the Italian society as a whole. And especially the fact that we definitely have to put in place measures that facilitate this access. Because, you know, what I like to say is that sometimes we think that we had a kind of debate about should we have also with colleagues from few Italian universities, should we have working on access for refugees to university should be a kind of humanitarian. We should have a kind of humanitarian attitude in that, so we should accept them, even those that do not really have a good, the necessary skills, because it is in any case can help their integration and so on. Or the aim should be that they can graduate, so we should just work on very high skilled people. So there was this kind of debate, but at the end of the day, what I always like to think is that there is no vulnerable people. When we speak about vulnerable people, and sometimes refugees are in a way vulnerable, there is no vulnerable people. There is just the measures that are put in place to support people to do something that may or not that make them vulnerable. I mean, if I'm on a wheelchair and there is an elevator, I'm not vulnerable at all. But if there is just stairs, yes, I am. So this is the same for me when we speak about access for refugees to university. There is plenty of barrier, and we should work on this barrier. And I'd really like, for example, the video of Claire that will speak just after me, because she saw how there is a kind of, there is, few different dimensions that that have a role in that, so from language, social integration, and a few others. And we should really try to a way to support universities that are working on each one are working is working on few different aspects. So to support them, and in a way to push Italian society to acknowledge that that we have to do that, and it is a complicated subject, and that measure has to be in place, especially knowing that university.
Michele, if you'd like to summarize, because we're getting.
Yes, of course. No, so I can also stop here and then leave the space to debate later.
I interrupted. Sorry.
No,
Right,
no problem.
So I think that was a good bridge to Claire. If Claire wants to give us some reflections on the French initiatives. Thank you, Claire.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to invite me to be there. So I'm from the University of Burgundy of Dijon in France, and I'm talking as the head of a program for refugees and asylum seekers in our university. And also, I would like to say a few words as a member of a collective, a network of the French universities working on these issues. So maybe I didn't prepare anything. First, when I heard about this manifesto, I didn't hear before about this manifesto in Italy, but I want to say a few words about our network, which is called MENS, Migrants in Higher Education, which has been created 5 years ago now, 5 years ago. And it's a collective bringing together about 40 universities, French universities. And we began 5 years ago to have a reflection about what could be done in our universities, because it was all very individual projects at the beginning from people who were very much committed in their own place. And I wanted to say that we have been working together for 4 years, and we exchange about the practices, but also, of course, about the difficulties. And we also worked in the direction of the Ministry of Higher Education. And what I would like to say is that this work has been rather effective, efficient, I don't know. And we now have in France a diploma, which is called DU diploma, University Diploma, Passerelle Getaway for people in exile. And this was a big progress for our students, because now this program has a national habilitation, and for the first year, this year, it has opened the rights for our students for this special program, which is not included in the normal courses and normal LMD programs, to get the scholarships. They have scholarships just as any other students on social criteria, and also they have access to the residence hall for students for the housing. And so this year, for the first year, our students were really complete students with all the rights of any students of the university, and that was a big advance for them. So that was the first point, that we were together. We had this strength to make the ministry move on. And the other part of my presentation was about our program, which has been implemented 4 years ago, and about all what we try to do. Maybe I could just share one screen, because my English.
Oh, no, we suppose if
Yes,
if possible,
just
better not to share a screen.
Yes, it's just because my English is not so good. So I just tell you that we try to have a holistic program, including French language, social and cultural integration, and academic and professional integration. And the main problem is really the last part, the professional and academic integration, because even if our program is try to take in account all the difficulties of the persons, the assessment just now is shows us that there is really a long way, even for high educated persons, we have great desire to begin the studies or to finish the studies or get their diploma, because really there is a big gap between the academic background of those people, even if they have high education, and our system. And all our reflection now is how to help them to not only to access is the first question, but then to not to fail during those years, because we had a lot of people who had difficulties. That's all what we try to imagine, all those means we can put in place to help them in their path.
All right, Claire, thank you for that. I think you raised two very important issues, and we really enjoy the graphics that you share on your presentation with all these the different levels of integration that you try to involve. So that was very good. Thank you for that. And now we're gonna move to our last speaker, Tatiana, who's gonna talk to us about mediators and interpreters. A very interesting program that, thank you. 5 minutes.
Okay. Hello, everybody. My name is Tatiana Sarwis. I'm from the University of Modena and Reggio Emilia. And my presentation was about the involvement of asylum seekers and the refugees as mediators and interpreters, intercultural mediators and interpreters in their organizations and services for their peers. The source of information that I used for this presentation are two Erasmus Plus European projects, the Reculm project that was about intercultural mediators, and the Inter4Ref project that is about interpreters in the context of refugees, and that is still work in progress. Both these projects aim to provide interpreters and intercultural mediators resources to improve their work with the refugees and asylum seekers. Both these projects started with a research on the training needs of these professional figures. And among their findings, there was that refugees and asylum seekers are involved as intercultural mediators and the refugees in their organizations working for their peers. This happens mainly because the linguistic skills need is prevailing on all the other skills of these professional figures. So it would be important to improve the other skills to do these specific jobs. The research were conducted in 4 countries, Greece, Italy, Spain, and the UK, that compose the partnership of the project. And we elaborated resources, training resources for people who work as interpreters or mediators in the context of refugees, but do not have an educational background, a specific educational background to do this. Among these figures, there are asylum seekers and the refugees. So the point was that these people often start their training when they already work. So the training should be aimed to this kind of need. It should be flexible, so it should be accessible from different places as they tend to move, and in different times of the day, it should be multidisciplinary, because asylum seekers and refugees have different educational background, also useful degrees for these kind of professions like psychology or communication, but they also should be differently educated. And the training should be also multi-level to meet this kind of characteristics. And the training should also link theory and practice, because these people often already
Oops, I think we have an issue with connectivity here. Tatiana, we cannot hear you.
Yeah.
All right.
There we go with the questions.
All right then. All right then. So we'll give Tatiana another chance to summarize. Can you hear us now?
Now it works, maybe? No.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, go on.
Okay, now yes.
Okay, go.
Can you stand it just to close up your points?
Okay, just to finish, it is also important that the asylum seekers and refugees who start this profession have the possibility to have this experience recognized. Their experience should be evaluated, and they should obtain qualifications in order both to have continuity in this kind of job, and also to give a good service to their peers, so a quality service to their peers. In the website of the two projects, you will find the resources we already elaborated, and the other resources will be available in the next month.
Excellent. So if you like to add these links to our chat, so everyone can have a look, that would be great.
You.
All right, thank you for that, Tiana. I think we tried, the five panelists, six panelists tried to capture the main point of their presentations. I think we have some questions for Lisa. Lisa tried to reply, but if you like, Lisa, to say a few words about the refugee parents and how supportive they are, or how interested in what you're doing.
Yeah, I think if I can summarize the question that was there was around accessibility, or for those families that do not want to attend the hubs in the primary schools. So it was for the first part of my presentation. And I acknowledge that there isn't a one size fits all. So some families will not want to attend the hubs in schools. And to address that, I mean, we won't be able to address everybody's needs, but we do outreach to our partner organisations. We provide the same type of service for clients, and it would be great if we had a mobile van or something where we can go to locations, especially in those new communities that are being developed in far-reaching parts of cities where transport isn't as accessible. But we do find that families, we can't support the number of families that want to attend our hubs. There's more need than we can address. So it hasn't been a problem for us, but we do have our key gateway models, which I also mentioned in my presentation, which of course parents or children, families can access those that aren't located on primary schools. They're mainly in accessible parts of the cities where transport is easy to get to, etc. And by no means do we try and have parents there as a navigator for their children. The primary purpose of our primary school hubs is to make sure the children are ready for lifetime learning, and we do whatever support, we provide whatever supports that child or those children need to achieve that. But we also develop the parents, or it's primarily women that access these hubs, and we build their capacity to be able to support their children for lifetime well-being. So it might be on teaching them how to discipline their child appropriately, how to read to their children. We also provide English classes, for example, for the parents. We also have a registered training organisation that might come and help them with their pathway for their education or employment outcomes that, you know, for once the children go to school. So yes, I hope that answers the question.
All right, thank you for that, Lisa. Do we have any other sort of questions? You can write them down, or if we have any contribution, any comment from someone, because I think that we've seen some hand raised somewhere in this virtual environment. Do you have any pressing comments to do, someone of you guys? Otherwise, we can actually try to take some more questions on the topic. We have 2 questions here, you know, for me, but I think that we can discuss them into the next panel. That should be more appropriate, but we'll see.
I agree. Can I ask to Lisa if the role of coordinator, you said there is a strong point in this kind of support that you give, this professional that you call coordinator. Is it a different role or competencies? Considering the fact that he can work with families, children, or adults, is it the same person that is doing that, or you have different profiles? Thank you.
Yeah, good question. We do have different profiles. So we have youth experts, we have early learning experts that work for us, and then we have probably what you would classify as generalists that work across the families. And we do think that's really important. The early learning, for example, they need to understand the essential needs of a child, especially in the first 8 years of their life while they're forming their skills and that. So yes, you're right, we do need specialists in there. But I think the hardest part that we have is having specialists to get, like the coordinator who's a specialist who isn't a specialist in all of the needs of the client, but bringing those people in there to consider the whole need of the client, not just, we find with programs, our programs subscribe what we should be looking at, but they don't usually think about the whole need of the client. And we do not believe that that gives sustainable outcomes.
All right. Any other questions, if you like to, or comments?
There are on the group, on the chat group.
So I'm sorry, but you know, I've lost all the chat.
Okay, so there is Laura for Ruth and Sabine.
Yeah. So yes, go on. And Rita, if you like to go on with proceed with your.
Yes, Laura is asking, Laura, if you are there, what comparative advantages, if any, do university programs starting from follow students have in comparison to more top-down approaches?
Thank you for the question. I'm not sure whether the biggest advantages are really by student-led projects, because the issue is that in student-led projects, there's a nice project, there's nice engagement from everyone and so on. But the issue is that if it's a student-led initiative and a bottom-up project, the real tackling the real obstacles such as recognition and financing and so on is not really guaranteed. So the top-down approaches, such as the projects in Geneva, or so-called top-down, because there is coordination and cooperation between several actors, and that's how more advantages for me happen. So that is where it's a student-led, and another student-led is a university-led initiative, and the support from the university is there. And that is where people manage to enroll. So it's about 50% who manage, or 40% who manage to enroll. Whereas in the student projects, I think it's great because students manage to get soft skills by doing these programs, and by really engaging and thinking of program points such as events with partners, such as professional centers and so on. And that's where they really get their own competences. And it's, yeah, I think this is the biggest advantage for students themselves, but even in so-called top-down approaches, as of the University of Geneva, there's also students involved, and the whole process of soft skill acquirement and so on can happen. So I'm not sure how to describe in other ways the advantages. I don't know if Sabine, you want to add or contribute with your experience that you got in the project.
Okay, any other comment on this, Sabine?
No, I think you put it rightly. It's very urgent and important that the different actors are starting to collaborate, and that is not only a student-led initiative, because otherwise it's not sustainable and the finances are lacking. So it's clearly the universities and on the side of the politics that they have to take part in the whole process.
Sustainability is a very important issue, you know, of these systemic. So I think it's something that we need to discuss further and on you know, local level, and try to get more ideas and more synergies in order to succeed this kind of you know, a fruitful sustainability, or you know, future sort of continuation of these programs. Okay, any other question? And Rita, you mentioned
perhaps Claire wants to answer or to connect. He wrote on the chat, but perhaps I don't understand if it is connected to this question. Claire, if you want to say something, and then I put a question for Michele.
Yep, I can see this question.
Okay, okay, Claire. Okay.
It was connected to the presentation about the programs implemented by the students, because I think what the students can do is complementary to what the academics and the other staff of the university can do, and it's very important to put it together. We try to do it. It's a big challenge, but for instance, our students are involved in the tutoring, and also we have an association, a student association, who organize all the social life, the sports, the travel, music, evenings, gathering parties, etc. And on the other part, we have the staff, and often some ladies or men around 50, 60 years, which play another part, very important, near the students, because they can help them, they can drive them here and here. And so we try to put all those people together. And I think that's important. That's not either the students or the academics, but together we can do much more. That's all.
All right, thank you. And Michele, are you ready to respond to Rita's question?
Yes, of course.
Another one, Michele, sorry, I add another one, so you take the floor for both. Thank you.
Yes, yes, okay. So for the first question, what happened during COVID-19? Well, I would say, well, first of all, it's not easy to have an idea about what happened to refugee students in general, but from the different contacts that we have with university, I would say that most of the refugee students that are in the university, they are there through some specific scholarship program or something like that. And in general, there is a very strong attention from the universities, that is from the secretary, the international office, or the professors. And so there were, in any case, in general, there were good support for them. But of course, they experienced, for example, one of the problems was that when the university stopped the on-site, I mean the physical, when everything went online, most of students that were inside the student hostel left. I mean, most of Italian students go back home, and so they remained refugees, or I mean migrants, strangers in general. They remain pretty isolated inside the hostels, and so this was already one problem. Then, of course, connectivity and following online lessons was not always easy. I know, for example, there were some very positive initiatives. For example, in Bologna, but now maybe it was in Reggio Emilia, in Emilia-Romagna in general, the regional agency for the...
Buongiorno, mi chiamo Daniela De Caro, ho avuto il suo numero da...
Daniela, scusi.
Yeah. There was, for example, the Agenzia Regionale per il Diritto allo Studio, so the regional office for supporting rights to study, supporting students in general, for example, gave, I think, 100 or 200 SIM card to students in needs to be able to follow online lesson. And of course, most of the people that applied for that were foreigners in general, strangers now, migrants, refugees, or I don't know. So probably, yes, there was some more difficult for them, but there was also good support, luckily. And then for the second question, if the manifesto address also the social integration, yes, of course. So there is a part about scholarship, but also in general, other form of support. And the idea is to strongly push toward creating link with NGOs and civil society and what else to fulfill plenty of different needs. That is already, for example, I mean, that can be to find place to stay for them, but also to organize, you know, buddy system or peer support. And this is through students, but also through, in general, the civil society, where the idea is that, of course, as Claire really highlighted very well in her video, that social integration support, for example, language skill, and then support as well learning skill, and the contrary is also true. So of course the goal is the goal for UNHCR is to have, at the end of the day, refugees that get access to a dignified life in general. So that is through study, but through social integration. And so yes, definitely.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? And then for the students that are registered for this panel, if you have any other questions to the panelists, I think we have some main points made with regards to language, sociocultural and academic professional integration that the universities seek to address, which is a huge task, to be honest. And all this effort is being, you know, is paralleled by and joined by organizations and other programs that we're able to run, like the one of Lisa and Tatiana, for example. I'm not sure if anyone else has something to add, probably a comment. We're very open to a comment now. Oh, this panel is very shy, I think. And let me make a question to Tatiana. And how much how much influence or impact do you think that the programs that you mentioned about the mediation and the interpreters have brought into the professional field, Tatiana? How helpful these programs were for professionals, the field professionals?
We had good results in terms of the access to the resources that we proposed. We have just finished a course, an online course for interpreters that was followed by 1,200 people. So we think there is a strong need of training for interpreters and for intercultural mediators both. We don't have an evaluation of the impacts, but what we hope is that the skills and the competencies that we try to promote in Europe will become also a pathway toward a European qualification for these professions that would be very, very important for helping the integration pathways and the inclusion of asylum seekers and the refugees in all the field, maybe in the university included. The competencies acquired in the field and also in training courses should be also evaluated in the university. And for example, it would be interesting to discuss how these competencies could be could have a value in the context of the university, if they could be recognized, and how, and to become to make more easy obtaining a university degree, for example. As in our research, it resulted that the university courses are too long for some of the refugees and asylum seekers that are involved as interpreters and mediators. So maybe it would help to have this kind of recognition.
Okay, thank you. And another question to Lisa. Lisa, or would you like to comment on, do you work could be defined as community work that takes education as piece of the path?
Yes, exactly. Thanks, Rita. Yes, it is an essential piece.
And
in the case, yes.
More a comment, because it was, yes. It was interesting to see how you put all together the resources of the community and how to support not only the educational careers, but also the integration in all the community, considering all the resources of the community.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
All right, and Ruth, can managers, case managers, who they are? Who are they, the case managers? Ruth, more information on that?
Sabine, will you take this?
Mm-hmm. They are the first person who come in, or almost the first person who come in contact with refugees, and they are responsible that everything is getting on track, that they make together an integration agreement, and they accompany them on this whole process. So they are very key persons, but they are more, we can say they are not very trained on all these issues they had to do. And especially when it comes to tertiary education, it's not very explicit that refugees really have the right to do that. So they are not, the sensibilization is not there.
All right. And Lisa, would you like to say something? You raise your hand, yeah?
Yeah, yes, I do. And I agree with Sabine, and we do have case managers that support people when they initially arrive in Australia, and they are there to provide certain support services, and it's only, in Australia, it's up to 18 months only. However, we are strongly of the view that you need individual support or case management, and that's kind of that collaborated coordinator role that I'm talking about throughout. And you won't get anyone that has, as Sabine says, like the full gamut of skills and expertise, but their skill and expertise should be to bring those people in to look after the whole being of the client. So they need to, we're trying to transition out of case managers, because usually it's program orientated and more looking at individual support. How do you support that individual? You do need to consider family, not just the individual. You can't think of them both in isolation. Something that Australia's done a big flip on. Before, we used to do a lot of our case management on initial arrival as a family unit, and now they've taken it to the individual, and it's just gone too far. You need both in there.
Excellent.
From our experience.
Thank you for these comments. I think we could capitalize on each other's experiences and models put in place, and as in informing a collective sort of intelligence around these issues. I think that's for this forum as well, to enable this kind of expertise and experience to surface, and for different localities to become more responsive or be more flexible in terms of implementing this kind of ideas. Any other questions? Otherwise, we have 5 more minutes, and I think we can take another question before we close up. Can I comment, Rita? I should ask. Can I make a comment? If you don't have any other questions, I would like to make a comment. I was in a forum some months ago in Salzburg, and the discussion about refugee education and all these issues that we try to address here was revolved around the idea of social and emotional learning. So these people, professionals and academics, were very much focused on social emotional learning and paying no attention to community and stakeholders and collaborative approach and coordinated approach that we try to address in this panel. I think it's very important to keep things into perspective and try to, as you said, through your questions and through your comments, we need to have a holistic approach and try to bring all the different synergies and all the different stakeholders at the community, the particular locality together, so we can produce programs and systems that can allow for accessibility to educational pathways and services and resources. That was my comment and my sort of main point, that the conclusion that I came up taking part in this in today's forum, in this panel. I'm not sure if anyone wants to say a few words about this, or to have a reflection on this, or if we have another final question. Okay.
Perhaps I want to add, sorry, I don't want to take the floor all the time. If someone wants, please end up. But I'm only thinking about the topic of the panel. It is supporting the continuity of educational careers, and it is true that we focus most of the attention on higher education. So I agree with Michele that perhaps it was quite strange for me, because I suppose that we have to focus on all the steps, not only on the final one. But perhaps what Michele said is true, that perhaps there is a focus now on the access of the tertiary education, but because perhaps it's something that is, I don't know if it is more difficult, or if it is more, it's quite new compared to the other educational order. But I think that this topic could be considered, always consider in taking attention also to the other possibility, so for children to access to primary education. Perhaps I find the answer. Maren said that the topic, the aim is to supported the inclusion into the national education system. So perhaps children has this access easily than young adults into the tertiary system. I don't know, because I think that supporting the continuity could mean, as Lisa showed us, support different people of the families, perhaps different steps. We focus on tertiary education, but because perhaps we have no so many practices as in the other education order, education level. I don't know. This is a thing that I was thinking on, but yes, I give to you.
All right, thank you, Rita, for this final comment. I think our time is up. I would like to thank you all, and especially thank Rita, of course, who coordinated the whole forum and was willing to host us in Reggio Emilia. We hope that some other time next year or some other time we can actually repeat this forum with different topics, or with the same, presenting different experiences and data. Now let's go to panel number 3. Thank you all, and especially the panelists. And I hope that we can collaborate again in different projects and circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you on the other link.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.